Hello everyone. So it is now the I guess the fifth installment of this series of OCD thinking and discussion about OCD. And the last video, I think we discussed that every manufacturing plant of some sort, whether it's biological or mechanical, non-biological, when it produces something, there is some kind of a feces, some kind of a residue, some kind of a rejects, or some kind of a things that is not necessary, and it's no good, and it needs to be disposed of because it was in the process of creating something. And so mind has the same, brain has the same. It's a material process, makes thinking, makes thoughts, calculations, and through all these different thoughts that we go through every day, I don't know, thousands and thousands, 70, 80,000 different thoughts. Obviously, in manufacturing that, and making those, pondering on those, creating those, they're going to be thoughts that are not meant to be created, and they're just the byproducts, feces and exhaust of this process, and needs to be disposed of. And then we talked about, we simply notice all these rejects, all these thoughts that it was not intended to be created, as we notice a dog poo. When we're walking in the street, we don't necessarily go examine it close by. Oh, there's dog poo, huh? You poke it. Oh, it is. Oh, it smells. Oh, yeah, it is. We don't do that. We just recognize it and then say, okay, we want to stay away from that, and we go. So it is our responsibility to actually be able to differentiate between thoughts that should be considered and entertained or ponder on or acted on, and the ones that are just simply things to stay away from, which are the type of thoughts that causes us to end up having OCD. The things that we think, oh, we got to do it, but really has no reason for us to do it, or we have created an idea in our head that has made us to believe that we should do these, whatever it is, rituals that we do in order to protect something or avoid something or whatever it is. So we continue on this video at the things that we got to focus on to help us to move on from OCD and reverse this and help us to become free from this way of thinking and continue our life in a more balanced way. So if this way of thinking was actually of any use, then why is it that it only works on these sort of ideas that I got to do this in order to protect something? I got to do this so my loved one, nothing happens to them. I got to do this so my business will be good, or something bad wouldn't happen. You know, whether it's the light switch I'm turning off and on 100 times, or is it I touch something to go out and in and out of the house, or I quarantine my clothes when I come inside the house, or whatever it is that you're into, whatever it is that your OCD is into, why is it that it only works on these sort of things? And why wouldn't it work on, if it's really legitimate thinking, or it's beneficial or productive? Why can't we not use the same rituals or similar to these rituals for becoming more educated, or pass our exams, or become a millionaire, or have some money appear in our banks suddenly? Because if this is going to have magical powers, that by cleaning our hand 5 million times, or turning the light switch up and down 50 million times, or cleaning my chair before I sit down because there's contamination, and if I do that it will clean it, and then this touch that and that touch that, I gotta do this 3 times and so on. Somewhat, some idea, some thinking makes us do things in order to result in a favorable outcome. If that's the case, then why don't we do these weird things in order to result a favorite outcome in our bank account? Why does that not happen? Why don't we attempt to that? Why then we don't do that in order to pass our exams, let's say? I mean, I don't have to study. I just do this 5 million times, or make sure that I wash my hands 50 times, or pass over a stone 5 times as I guess do, or whatever, whoever. I'm just saying I, meaning us, just human being. So if it was really any truth to the powers that we think it has, by doing something we are getting some favorable outcome, then it should have worked for everything, wouldn't it? But we don't do that, do we? Because we find some things really unreasonable. Things that needs a physical production and physical outcome, we are clear that we are fooling ourselves, and we don't touch them. But some things that brings security in the mind, a certain kind of an order in the mind, we think it was going to work. You see, all of that is for creating certain kind of a psychological security. And since everything in our mind has a place to rest, everything in our body has a place to rest, like my finger is hanging from the knuckle, and then the wrist, and it's hanging from the rest of the hand, and the hand is hanging on from the wrist, and the wrist from the elbow, and the elbow from shoulder, and my ears are here, eyes are here, and my knees are here, my legs. Everything in my body has a place, and I can close my eyes and know where everything is. But our mind doesn't have a place in our body. It doesn't have a place to rest. It doesn't have a place to hang around, dangle around, and hang its hat. Sorry for this reflection of my glasses, but I can't help it. So our mind doesn't have a place to rest in our body. But it needs to hang its hat, needs to relax, needs to feel a secure place to just be. Otherwise, it's all over the place, because it is. As you can see, mind is escaping all the time. It's always in different places. That's why we teach it to focus. Like anything else, we got to train it. Mind is like a horse. You train it, it goes anywhere it wants, runs around. No direction, just la. But our mind needs to be collected in order to learn something, in order to focus, in order to pay attention. And usually our teachers in school said, collect your mind. Well, from where? I don't know how to collect it. But they said, collect your mind, focus. Oh, how? Everybody told me to focus, but they never taught me how to focus. Until we grow up and we learn there are techniques to focus. Through meditation and so on and so forth, we teach our mind where it can reside in the body. Until it knows where its place is in the body, just like hand and wrist and so on, they know their place in the body, the mind is flowing all around the place. Onto this, onto that. Why? Because it finds something, some idea, and in that idea it finds a resting place. It parks. In fact, then mind is looking for some existence of something, a rhythm, in order to find a resting place in that rhythm. And that rhythm is called order. So mind is looking for order. And if you don't teach it order, it becomes something that has no order. It's in disorder. If it's in disorder, it's susceptible to follow any kind of a thing in order to follow an idea, be part of an idea, be busy with creating and calculating and figuring out, configuring something which is called it order. It manufactures an order. If your mind doesn't know how to rest, have a place in the body, to relax, to focus, to simply be, it is agitated, and when it's agitated, it's easy to be grabbed or hang on to anything that it can and consider that as an order, as something to do, a mandate. And then the mandate, mind finds relaxation, security. It's not running around or scared. That's why when you're busy, when you're doing something, you're not doing your OCD stuff. You're busy. Your mind is not thinking about it. You're doing your stuff. Most of the time, you're not noticing it. because the mind has found a new order, a valuable order, worthy order, and is focused on that and doing things, part of an organization, part of a routine, and he's no longer worried about being a gypsy to hang on to something in order to create security for itself. But when it doesn't know how to relax, where its place is, how to be trained, how to be settled, how to decrease its ripples to infinitely imperceptible decreasing ripples, doesn't know that technique, it's gonna find any kind of an idea, suggestion to create a certain kind of a routine, and in that routine calls it an order, and in that order it says, okay, I'm secure, I don't have to be distracted. Mind finds a certain kind of a semi-fictitious order in the things that you do, because you're giving it mechanical process. You're giving it things to do. Touch this, 5 times that, and put your shoes there, and it's busy and it's active. And the mind is like a little puppy. It does whatever you want in order to make you feel good, and listens to you when you give it things to do. It says, okay, I'm programmed to do things because now the mandate has come. I gotta clean this, I gotta put my shoes there, I gotta touch that, I gotta not clean this with alcohol, I gotta put this in all these bullshit that you have created for it. It finds a routine, and in that routine it follows order, and in that order it finds security. It doesn't want to let go of that security. That's why the OCD keeps staying. And you believe that you should do it because it gives you settling of your mind, and the mind feels a bit content that it's doing something, and you feel you're actually achieving something. In that kind of achievement makes you feel good. And just as OCD is actually uncomfortable and make you miserable, but at the same time there's a certain kind of a satisfaction to it, because you feel like, I gotta accomplish this whole bloody routine that it takes me half an hour to do, but I've accomplished. So you kind of have a feeling of accomplishment while you're suffering and want to stay away from it. So it's all because the mind doesn't have a place to rest, haven't been taught where to hang its hat, where to coordinate itself with its existence of the body, and then rest and not have to look for a place or a routine or an order to find security. So one of the things we got to do, we got to teach our mind where its place is in the body. And of course you can find that in one of my books called Me, My Psyche and I, and it's very nominal. You can go on my site, mindthatseekstruth.com, and instead of buying the printed version, which is expensive, buy the ebook version, which is like 1/10 of a price. But in that book, I think it's between chapter 32 and chapter 40, we talk about mind needs a home. And we also talk about meditation. And the combination of these chapters teaches you how to train your mind. Where does it have to be focused, where its place is, where it can bring harmony and compatibility, and where can it bring coordination with the body. And then mind and body are coordinated, where it doesn't have to run around and it feels safe and secure. And it would be trained to become stronger, so it will listen to your order and mandate and wishes to wean yourself off of this whole routine that you've created with all these things that you do. The idea is not to stay in there and let the mind think that this routine is there for it to consider it an order in which try to find tranquility and relaxation and security. The idea is to actually convince yourself, bring your attention to the fact that this whole thing that you're doing is not a healthy routine for the mind to find security in it, and to get conditioned to think that this is where it can hang its hat and be relaxed. It's actually a place where it creates lots of inconvenience, lots of anxiety, lots of insecurity, and you would want to stay away from it. By these discussions that we have, I want to bring your attention to the idea that this whole thing is not productive and is not positive and is not going to do a darn thing in bringing about the results that you're looking for. It's just something that your mind has conjured up, and you have fallen victim to believing it because it is your mind. And you have respect for your mind, and you think that anything that is created in your mind has got quality. But as you know, you think about thousands and thousands of things during a day, and a certain kind of a thinking creates certain kind of a chemical, certain kind of chemicals create certain kind of emotion. And on that emotion you react. And then, lo and behold, if you convince yourself that that emotion is beneficial to you, but if you focus on the emotion you get from these thoughts and these actions and these crazy things that you do, you know that emotion is not healthy, is not happy. So based on that, you got to be sure that the thought that has brought that emotion, that created a certain chemical, that has created a certain emotion, that emotion tells you that that thought is not healthy, is not right. I shouldn't follow it. I should wean myself off of that thought that creates that emotion, that gives me that certain kind of a feelings that unfortunately I have convinced myself that is a good emotion. It's not a good emotion. But the fact that you feel you've completed the routine and you feel a little bit of relaxed because you complied to the conditionings that you have received that you should finish these routines, you have to do these routines, gives you certain kind of a satisfactory emotion, and you think because it gives you that feeling of satisfactory, therefore it is a legitimate path that you should follow these thinking. You should continue doing this. It makes you feel good. And what makes you feel good makes you feel like this is legitimate, this is a good thing for you. But remember we said that not just everything that makes you feel good is good for you. Many things may make you feel good, but whatever makes you feel good is not necessarily good for you. And this sort of thinking and behavior is not a I forgot the word. Is not immune to that, let's say. So, what do you have to do to get over this whole business or reverse this whole OCD? Again, as I said, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist. So with the consult of your doctor, you come to certain remedies and so on, should you need that. Having said that, and trust that you will take care of yourself as far as the medical professions are concerned, here we talk about just things that has to do with common sense. So you might wish to take advantage of this as well. So what do we need to do in order to wean ourselves away from these routines and these weird things that we do, excess hand washing, the repetitious things, and even uttering something over and over, and even it can go as far as certain kind of a tick that you kind of think that I got to do this 2 times or 10 times in order to some good luck come to me. These are all thoughts. There's no basis to it. If that was a base to it, then everybody would have been walking around with fingers in their nose and hoping that there's $1 million going to be sitting in their bank, because hey, if that works the other way, then it works the other way too. If I do this for some good luck, or if I do this for something not bad happen to me, then I can maybe use this to do this to some money come to my account, or I win the race, or I don't know, pass the exam. But we don't see people with their hands up their noses or whatever walking in the streets. So let's figure out. Let's be convinced that we got to get rid of this, to bring that freedom of mind to ourselves, to bring balance to our lives, and enjoy our life again. Just like what we did when we didn't have to do these things, and when we weren't doing these things, the life was just as perfect, and it was actually real healthy and perfect, and we were enjoying life. So the only thing that happened between then and now is our thought pattern. Nothing else. No aliens, no new world, no whatever, no chaotic results, no chemical explosion to make us concerned about contamination and this. None of that. Only our thought pattern somehow hasn't found its balance as it used to. And it's running around trying to find an order to settle and to relax on it. Then it finds order in the weird things. But when we're in the library or when we're busy doing some project or some sports activity or whatnot, we're not thinking about any of this. We're just thinking about if it's soccer, just, kick the ball, pass the ball, get the ball, and, score. And we're not thinking about these weird things. And if there's something that we like, we're not worried about, it's dirty or not. We just, reasonably saying, it's all right. And we do whatever we have to do. And then later on, I guess, before we eat, we wash our hands. That's it. Because our mind is busy, has found order in something else that is interesting, is occupied. But when we're not, we do these weird things. And usually these things kind of kick up a notch when we are a little bit threatened. Threatened in ideas, in business opportunities, lack of money, market is down in our business, we're worried, we're a little bit feeling insecure about it all. Or maybe your relationship changes, your girlfriend or boyfriend, have difficulty together and relationship is breaking down, or something that triggers to bring a little bit of inassurance in you, in a lack of confidence in the environment or in the how things are progressing, and that triggers more of an OCD things. How it works, I really don't know exactly, but that's what I've noticed in many different situations of people who have OCD. And as I said, every one of us had a certain kind of it, to a certain limit, and I had it too. But I was determined to understand it and get over it and reverse the course. And the mind is so powerful that if you put that power into what you want to accomplish, you can. And if you allow it and not train it, the mind will reverse and perhaps use it against you and make you do all these crazy things that which you actually think I have to do, and it's actually legitimate or logical. The good news is that you can reverse it. You can get your life back, be happy and strong, and make tremendous changes in how it is today, every day of your life. So, what is it that we need to do? Well, the first thing we need to do, when we have already discussed in these 4, 5, 6, whatever number tapes is going to be, recognize that many of these thoughts are just thoughts. They have no credibility to follow them. We've discussed them all. If you need to, review the tapes again. We just pick up where we left off. So the first thing we need to do, recognize that these thoughts are just thoughts. They have no evidence or proof that they can actually benefit us of any kind, any of these things that we do. No scientific proof that if I wash my hands more than 2 times, it has any benefit. There's no scientific proof that I have to quarantine my shoes when I come home and put it in a certain corner and then make sure that places I walk, it's not going to be touched with the shoes. Only if I talk, it's not contaminated. I got to wash it. I got to clean everything, and then I take my socks off or don't take my socks off. None of that has any kind of scientific or medical proof that I know of. I don't want to talk about anything medical because I'm not a medical profession, so I want to carefully make sure you're not misled. But logic and common sense said that, you walk. You don't have to do any of these crazy things. But somehow, you got to recognize that these thoughts are excess thoughts. Once you recognize that, and you want to get rid of these things that you do which is based on the idea, the thought is making you believe that you need to do these sort of repetitious things or cleaning things and extraordinary kinds, then you try an exam. First of all, you remember how it was when you were a child and you never needed to do any of these things and everything was fine. And remembering that, then say, okay, if I'm turning the light switch up and down 10 times, what if I just do it 3 times? Or 5 times. Let's see what happens. I mean, if I'm so adamant to think that I got to do it 10 times, let's do it 5 times. See if anything goes wrong in my life, as it's been just the way it was past few days or whenever. Let's see. So you do that. Or If it's hand washing, that you wash your hands so many times or so often, say, okay, I'm going to die. I'm living in a very 21st century and very advanced era, so to speak. So if something really drastic happens, I'm sure there are medicine and there are doctors and hospitals and they'll take care of me. But I doubt it, because it's not reasonable that if I wash my hands so often and 10 times, if I just reduce it to wash my hands 3 times, let's see what happens. Let's see if I catch anything. Let's see if my fear of, if I don't do this, something bad happens, or bacteria or some sickness. Let's see if it has. Because if it does, it's not going to be something really bad. It's maybe some, I don't know. Let's see what it is, if there is anything. And you might say, well, okay, I just come with shoes inside my room. What happens? Let's see what happens. Instead of being so careful about putting aside. Let's see what happens if I come home and because I've sat on the bench somewhere here and there or on the bus, I'm just not going to take my clothes. I'm not going to change my clothes to something else and hang it carefully somewhere as if it's plutonium. Let's see what happens. And you do that, and next day you say, well, I didn't turn the switch on and off more than 5 times instead of 10 times. Nothing happened. I washed my hands 3 times instead of 10 times. And not so often, just washed it when I went to the washroom or when I came home from work and wanted to eat. So I washed my hands before, as soon as I come home. But I didn't do it like I used to, 10 times washing and so often all the time. And I didn't consider that, oh, my clothes are contaminated because I sat on the bus or I sat on a bench in the park or something. And so now I have to be careful so it won't touch anything else to contaminate anything. I didn't do that this time. And you see, nothing happened. Nothing different than the times that I was doing all these elaborate things happened. So you say, okay, for a few days I just do it this way because it saves time, and if it has the same result of no problems, then why should I keep doing it? So you do that, and then you see how things work out. And on this note, I don't want it to be too long because the other part that I have to put them together, that the card ran out, it was full, so I have to now put these 2. It's 26 minutes. So I'm going to stop here and then perhaps continue in another video. Ponder on this, and I'll talk to you soon.